Even more things to love about Oregon's dominance over Rutgers.
You are Locked On Ducks, your daily podcast on the Oregon Ducks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, it's that time once again for Locked On Ducks. I'm your host, Spencer McLaughlin. Thank you all so much for making this your first listen or your first view every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, your number one source to stay up to date with the Ducks. Some more thoughts after rewatching the game on Saturday, including Matyao Uiagalelei, who's been a little bit quiet, not as quiet as you might think, and some thoughts on the backup quarterback situation. A number of you are wondering. I have some thoughts, and maybe even just a smidgen of insight there. This episode brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the FanDuel app today. So, I cannot stop thinking about how ridiculous of a number 750 yards of offense is. But I want to start with the ground game, because Oregon has really showed throughout the course of this year. They have a number of backs who are good. I think it's a bummer Jay Harris's touchdown got called back. He ran the ball well in this game, by the way. Do I think he's as good as the other three? No. But what we have seen, and I can't imagine that if I've seen it, and many of you have seen it, and your friends and your family members and your neighbors have seen it, I can't imagine it's just gone by the wayside and been missed by the coaching staff either. But Whittington, Davison, and D'Eriq Hill Jr. are Oregon's three best running backs. And those three guys should just continue to get all of the carries, and you play the hot hand. And I am perfectly okay with it. I am totally and completely fine. Sometimes with running backs, you've got a guy that is just seeing the field better, or a certain concept works better for his skill set against the defense. I'm fine with it. I'm fine not having a bell cow. Last year, Jordan James was a big-time bell cow throughout the course of the year. And we saw him wear down a little bit at the end because he's a very physical runner. And I think the staff ideally would like to have this sort of situation. Now, with the receiving core, I think it's a little bit different. I would love to see them get the ball to Decorian and Sadiq more, or have an emphasis in doing so as they did on Saturday. Decorian only had 2 catches in the game. One of them was a long touchdown with just a nasty post route. He sells the guy who's running to the corner, and then he jukes back. He's that guy. Being a true freshman, they're just not built like him. He's the number 1 rated receiver for a reason. That route, if you haven't seen it, find a way to go watch that route that he puts on the defensive back. That poor Rutgers defender that was trying to defend that guy in open space. That doesn't look like a very fun assignment. Off of a switch release as well. Will Stein was very good on Saturday. As poor as he was against Indiana, he was really good, did a lot of things well. I thought the concepts after watching the game were really good. I'll have more on that later. But this running back rotation for Oregon, I love that it's like this. Because remember, in the Indiana game, Oregon didn't actually struggle to run the ball. D'Eriq Hill struggled to run the ball, but Noah Whittington and Jordan Davison, and Jaden Lamar played in that game. He wasn't available on Saturday against Rutgers, but Oregon had 3 backs averaging 5.4 yards a carry or more. That's why I am totally fine, and it can work both ways. You have more of a 1 back and a 2 back, or 1A, 1B, and it's just those 2 guys. That's fine. But with this situation, Oregon running the ball with these 3 guys and saying, hey, let's see who starts running well, who's breaking tackles, let's keep them fresh, use them in different ways. I'm 100% here for it, because they didn't struggle running the ball last week. The game plan was just off, disconjointed, and all. We don't need to go back down that rabbit hole. But Oregon ran the ball for 415 yards, which is an insane number. That I don't care who you were playing. I don't care if you were playing Southern Utah, for goodness sake. 415 yards on the ground is absurd. And what I liked most about it, in addition to the balance that Oregon showcased on offense once again in the backfield, and with the number of receiving weapons that got involved in this game, Oregon looked like they were playing with an attitude. They looked like up front, in particular, on both sides of the ball, offensive and defensive lines, they looked like they were trying to prove a point, to set a tone. And that's what we were all looking for, and the Ducks did that in every single way. So Whittington was fantastic. The 68-yard touchdown was the first of many explosive runs in this game. Jordan Davison, 3 carries for 100 yards is just awesome. That guy continues to look better and better. They got D'Air Hill going again. The carry distribution was, and Oregon starters, of course, didn't play the whole game, but 11 for Whittington, 5 for D'Air Hill, 3 for Jordan Davison. If you'd had this be a close game throughout and they were all in the 7 to 10 carry range, I'm totally good with that. Totally good with it. And I want to see that going forward, frankly, because they are all different. Sometimes D'Air Hill wasn't having a good day against Indiana. Jordan Davison was. Jordan Davison really was, and boy, was he on Saturday. So, speaking of which, I got a Spencer scale of agreement take on that. I got to think about this one. Spencer scale of agreement, here we go. Jordan Davison is the best pound-for-pound running back on the team. Pound for pound, no animal is stronger than the army ant. I think it depends on the day. The last 2 weeks, he's been Oregon's best, most consistent running back. Is he going to continue to be that going forward? After the Penn State game, you would have said it was D'Air Hill. D'Air Hill ran incredibly well. Coming out of that game, I was getting questions and thinking about the idea of, is D'Air Hill RB1? I think we're going to continue to rotate around mentally as people that are not obviously a direct part of the program. We're watching from afar and seeing how things unfold. I think after each week, you're going to have a different feeling on who ran the ball best, who played the best of the running back position. And I'm totally good with it. Now, could Davison wind up having the best career of the three of them? I mean, Whittington's career, of course, comes to an end after this season. 4th-year Duck, just sneakily the longest tenured Dan Lanning recruit. He came over from Western Kentucky as a transfer in 2022. I think it's actually just him, now that I think about it. Anyway, so I think that for Oregon's running back room, it could be any one of those guys. I mean, we're going to pretend that Noah Whittington didn't have an awesome day. Like, Jordan Davison was spectacular. Noah Whittington was actually the worst of the 3 at 11.4 yards a carry. Looked pretty awesome. Hill was over 12 and Davison was over 33, which is not obviously sustainable. But yeah, I'm putting this at a 5 because on any day that can be the case, and on any day that cannot be the case. I think that's just the way it's going to continue to play out. Here's another one for the good old SSA. Because Oregon's so talented with so many weapons, multiple formations, they lack a core offensive identity, and that's a problem. They're the jack of all trades, master of none. Until they find a core identity, they will struggle to win at all. Michigan in 23, a positive example, running the ball no matter what. There's a 3 for me. I get where you're coming from. Maybe Oregon isn't, totally elite at one particular thing. I can't, in any sport really, envision a scenario in which an offense having balance and a depth of playmakers is a problem. The only way, and why I put this at a 3 and not a 1, is because sometimes it feels like a couple of talented guys that need to be involved every single week, DeCorian Moore, Kenyon Sadiq, get lost in the shuffle. And that happened last week against Indiana. And then you come out this week and DeCorian has a 34-yard touchdown. Sadiq has 4 catches for 80 yards and 2 scores. So as long as that can be mitigated, I do not believe it is a problem. I think it is an advantage for Oregon to be able to keep a team on balance, or off balance rather, at all times and know, hey, we can run. Like, think about any type of play that you could run on offense, just big picture. I'm not looking for an actual play call. You go run inside, run outside, run counter, run, and by outside I mean off tackle. You could run fly sweeps, you can go short pass, you can go medium pass, you can go long pass. Which of those concepts or schemes can Oregon not execute? As long as the offensive line is playing well, which we'll have some thoughts on in the second segment, there's nothing they can't do. So I get where your head's at with that one. That question was from, or that SSA was from the Duck Abides. I do not abide with that particular take. See what I did there? Okay, my horrible puns are over. Thoughts on a rewatch and Matyao Uiagalelei? First, this episode brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season's here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get 3 100 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. You pick a bet, you put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. College football is here. I love it. You love it. We all love it. Do you want to make it even better? Do you want to make it even more exciting every single week? FanDuel's got everything that you could possibly need to do just that. You've got point spreads. You've got money line bets. If you know where that upset's coming, hey, you can make money off of it over with FanDuel. And you got point totals, which can be really fun. You've got prop bets. Everything you need, FanDuel has you covered. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Check them out at FanDuel.com. This episode also brought to you by our friends at Quo, formerly OpenPhone. One of the tools that help make a huge difference for business owners is Quo, formerly OpenPhone. It's the same great business phone system that you've heard me talk about before, just with a new name. And here's why it matters. Every missed call is money left on the table. When every customer conversation counts, you need a phone system that keeps you connected 24/7. Quo is the #1 business phone system that streamlines customer communications. It works right through an app on your phone or computer, so no more carrying two phones or relying on a deadline or anything like that. And you'll love how Quo, formerly OpenPhone, lets your team share one number and collaborate on calls and texts, like a shared inbox, so no customer gets left hanging. See why over 90,000 businesses trust Quo, formerly OpenPhone. Get started free and get 20% off your first 6 months at quo.com/lockedoncollege. That's QUO.com/lockedoncollege. And if you've got existing numbers with another service, Quo will port them over at no extra charge. Quo. No missed calls, no missed customers. All right, the #1 thing that stood out to me watching the game back against Rutgers is that the game is too hard to find when you go search for it on Big Ten Plus to watch the broadcast back. I'm not kidding. That was my first thought. My second thought, though, after I actually went back and watched every snap again, was the offensive line was awesome. And when they made the change from Alex Harkey at right tackle to Alex Harkey at right guard, subbing out Iuli and Janoris Wilson came in, I think there were some really good moments. I think Oregon is better in the run department when they do that. I think they are worse in pass protection. Wilson doesn't have as much experience. Last year, he was the jumbo package offensive lineman, and he was really good. And he's done that this year, too. He's been really good from what I have seen. I don't know exactly. I'll look at his PFF grade real quick. Obviously, he hasn't played a ton, but he's not, and Connerly went through the same progression. He's not as experienced in the pass blocking sense. And yeah, PFF has his pass blocking grade at 45. So I think that's a little low, but there were a number of moments where I felt like he was getting beat. He's just not quite as technically sound as you'd like him to be. On the flip side of that coin, though, Davey Uli is great in pass protection. And in the run game, Davey Uli has struggled this year. I will, again, see what PFF has to say, but I think that Oregon's offensive line had one of its better games. Yeah, Uli, his pass blocking grade is 88.5. His run blocking grade is 53. It's really, really bad. And so when Oregon wants to run the ball successfully, I think they are best suited to do it behind Poncho and Prainon. I'll have more on those two, who played awesome in this game on tomorrow's show. But the offensive line had a tone-setting kind of game. And it just goes back to what I talked about coming out of Indiana, that that was fundamentally what went wrong, was the protection up front. But the run blocking was still there. It was there against Rutgers. It was there against Indiana, who's got a great defense. And I think they played about the same in those two games, maybe a little bit better overall in the run blocking department against Rutgers, and they just don't have as much talent. But something that I talked about with this offense coming into the year, a lot in the offseason, was I wanted to see them be more explosive in the run game. That has gone past even what my expectations would have been for what progress looks like. This is a running game that now I'm surprised if Oregon doesn't break a couple of plays, even against a good team, over 20 to 30 yards on the ground. And this game against Rutgers, yeah, an extreme example. I mean, there were some reps the offensive line had where guys in a Rutgers jersey, I'm sorry that you had to line up and try to go against them. And everybody had those moments. Isaiah World had some great blocks. Prenon is a beast. Poncho's a stud. Go watch the Noah Whittington touchdown run if you haven't, and just watch how that play is blocked. You can't do it any better across the board. Janoris Wilson had some run. He had one play. I forget exactly when it was. It was in the second half, and I think it turned into like a 12-yard gain for Whittington or something. Janoris Wilson moved his guy probably about 6 to 7 yards to the left to create a hole. And he is a force running the football. Pass blocking needs to improve. But I think just the way this offensive line played was such an awesome thing to see, because when you talk about needing to have a response, a tone setter, a culture game, that starts up front, and they did that from the get-go. They did miss a block on the second play of the game. The first drive was terrible, and it was mostly because Iuli and Harkey did not communicate about who was supposed to block 94. He shot right through and dropped Whittington for a 5-yard loss. Okay, if they make that block, it probably picks up a couple. Maybe Oregon converts to third and manageable. But after that, it was phenomenal. Every concept they ran, the quarterback sweep, and this is the other thing I wanted to get to, Will Stein was really good in this game. Really good. It's against Rutgers, sure, but what did we want to see? We wanted to see easy offense. We wanted to see explosive plays. You could not have asked for more. They had 42 points and a half. Oregon could have dropped a 70 piece in this game if they had wanted to. They might have been able to drop an 80 or 90 piece if they had wanted to in this game. Of course, you didn't need to. But I think that Will Stein in this game did a lot of really, really good things. And Oregon had a focus on running the ball. He did that in a lot of different ways. Oregon was 8 of 11 on third down. They were very good situationally. They didn't have to go for it on a fourth down, 750 yards. But the number of different ways that Oregon did it, the play designs, the focus to get your big playmakers the ball was awesome. It was awesome. That's what I want to see every single week. It's not going to look like this every week. Against Wisconsin, it should. Wisconsin is truly terrible. Their defense is like kind of okay, maybe. Their offense is atrocious. And they're going to fire. They should fire Luke Fickell pretty quickly. But for Oregon coming into this game, I said it was all about Oregon, and they played exactly the way they're capable of. And Will Stein had a really good game. That quarterback sweep, such a cool concept. You come out in a 5-wide, motion in Jordan Davison, who's just a beast of a blocker, gets the ball when called upon and runs really well, but he will pave the way for his guys. He's been doing it for De'Aaron Hill all year. I love watching Jordan Davison play, but to motion him in from an empty set to kind of an offset tight end spot to create a toss crack kind of, I mean, not a toss, but just a crack block formation or play. I can't talk right now. You know what I'm trying to say. He and Kenny Sadiq sealed it off, and Dante Moore almost ran for a touchdown. It was a really, really cool design. And there were a number of those. The, sweep, end around, toss back to Dante Moore, Kenny Sadiq wide open, the deep shots, like everything was there. I thought Will Stein had a really, really good game. I did want to share thoughts on Matyao Uiagalelei, who I think has been solid this year. I don't think he's been exceptional. He definitely had moments in this game. He created some quarterback pressures. He's doing pretty well defensively in the run game. It's not as if he grades poorly. PFF has him graded just shy of an 80. I think at like a 70 or maybe like a 75 or so. He had some opportunities in this game that going forward, if he's going to reach his full potential, his overall grade this season is 79.5. He should have had a couple sacks in this game. Full stop. He should have. He didn't. Almost got there. Almost made some plays. But overall, that was not one of his better games of the year. I definitely don't think it was one of his worst games of the year by any stretch. And Tatum Tuioti is, of course, awesome. But I think that for Matyao Uiagalelei, I had really high hopes for him coming into the season. I thought he could have a chance to push for the Oregon single-season sack record. Doesn't look like he's going to get there unless he goes on a tear. I don't think his impact is zero. It is not showing up in the box score as much as it could. But he had a number of moments in this game where he's right there. He makes the move to be in position to make the play. He's just got to make some tackles. He missed an open field tackle, dropping into coverage, a play that we've seen him make before. He had a couple chances at Cal Lake Manus for a sack, couldn't quite get him on the ground. He looks really good in the run game. He is going right across guys' faces, being explosive and disruptive into the backfield. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with him. It's just there's another gear that he's got to take, and it is getting guys onto the ground. Because everything, his array of pass rush moves, the physicality, the speed, that's all there. But it's just not quite coming together yet. If it does, I think that's just another piece for this Oregon defense to have to rely on. But, do I think that he has struggled? No. Do I think he has played his best football? No. And is he a good player? Yes, he is. But I have the expectation that he can be great. He is not a great football player right now. He's a good one. And I look forward to seeing him become a great one. Hopefully as the season goes on. No such thing as having too many great pass rushers out there. So, his pass rush grade on PFF is 84. But it could be like 90 if he could just make a couple of those sacks. He's like really close. He's right there, but he's not quite finishing the play. So, more thoughts coming on the show because there are only 2 segments. And my everydayers know, oh my gosh. Guys, I forgot my second segment sip. No wonder I couldn't talk in that second segment. It was a mess. All right, I'll figure it out for the third. First, this episode brought to you by Monarch Money. Let's be honest, most of us can't even name all of our financial accounts, let alone what we are worth. Between 401ks and savings and investments, it's easy to lose track. It really is. And that can mean leaving money on the table. You don't want to do that. That's why you start using Monarch Money, an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. So everything that you want to accomplish financially, Monarch is going to help you get there. If you have that one goal that's been nagging you for a long time, you want to get over the hump, you just haven't, you can't figure out why, Monarch is here to help. Don't let financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use the code LOCKEDONCollege at monarch.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarch.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. Check them out at monarch.com. I couldn't figure out why I couldn't talk in that segment, and then it hit me. Didn't do a second segment sip. There's a reason for that. You don't need the explanation. Anyway, so Brock Thomas comes in as a backup quarterback. We have not seen Austin Novosad this year. We have not seen Luke Moga since the Northwestern game. Let me start with Austin Novosad. I have heard there is an injury at play. He has not, however, been listed on the injury reports. The ones that get sent out that you see, I think, with the Big Ten graphic each week. I don't believe, and I'll have more thoughts on another injury on tomorrow's show, but the importance of Dante Moore staying healthy, I don't know that it can be overstated at this point in time. It is my belief, this is partially speculative and partially not, based on what we have seen. Maybe Austin Novosad is just shopping his name around in the transfer portal off the back of the spring game tape that he's put out for the last couple of years. I believe that it is injury related. And if Dante Moore were to get hurt, the season would unravel immediately. Because Luke Moga redshirted last year. Unless there is a special way that they are redshirting him or Luke Moga is doing the same thing with regards to the transfer portal, I think Brock Thomas is just a better thrower of the football. I think he is the second best healthy thrower of the football that Oregon has behind Dante Moore. And in the limited action he saw here, carried the ball once for 15 yards, 3 of 4 passing for 45. Luke Moga has always been and continues to be a project at the quarterback position as far as his passing is concerned. In the very limited action that we saw this year, it looked like in actual games, the spring game was progress. I don't think he became a finished product, but there was certainly a step forward that was taken there for Luke Moga. And again, I can only go off of what we've seen, but I think that Brock Thomas getting the snaps is about more than just, well, Brock Thomas is, I believe, a former walk-on, and I'm pretty sure he went to Sheldon High School and all that sort of stuff, and it's cool for him to play in an Oregon uniform. I think he's the backup quarterback right now because I do not believe Austin Novosad is healthy. If he's not being listed on the injury reports, that can indicate a more serious injury. And I said coming into this year, I feel as good about Oregon's backup quarterback situation as I have in quite a while. Because last year, Dante Moore wasn't ready to go, or he would have been playing over Dylan Gabriel. Of course, he wasn't. We see he's ready to go this year, obviously. And before that, you had Ty Thompson. I guess Anthony Brown was a backup to Tyler Shuck, and, Brown started and won some games. I guess that was the last decent backup quarterback situation Oregon's had. Yeah, I like Austin Novosad as a passer better. So that's my suspicion at this point of the year. If we're still seeing Brock Thomas come in, I think it's because at this point, the Oregon State game was one thing. Local kid getting into the in-state rivalry game. Okay, that's one. But now that it's happened again and again, I think you just have to sit and look at the way he's throwing the football, dude, and kind of spin it. He's got a pretty good arm. He's 3 of 4 for 45 yards, and no, Rutgers isn't very good, but I don't know, it's Big Ten competition at some level. And he's going out there making a couple throws. So he might just be the second best passer on this Oregon team. I don't know what other justification, unless there's an injury with Moga that I am unaware of. I don't know why you wouldn't want to get Luke Moga every single live game rep that you possibly can if he is healthy and your number 2 quarterback. I don't know what that reason would be, unless there's a special red shirt that they're trying to preserve with them. I don't know. We haven't seen the Luke Moga Wildcat package since Northwestern. So would I be shocked if one or both of Moga and Novosad are in the portal? And there's only one window now. If you guys missed that piece of news, it came out during the season, so wasn't as big of a talking point, but there's just one transfer portal window now. It's from early to mid-January. I won't be surprised if one of those guys is in there. I've talked about that with Novosad coming into this season. I could see him starting for Oregon one day. Absolutely. He's talented enough. But if Dante Moore comes back in 2026, if I were Austin Novosad, I would leave. There are options. Schools will give you a chance to go start and play. And, you can only sit for so long before you go, well, I want to play and see what I can do and make sure that I give myself an opportunity to showcase my talents to go to the NFL. And so I wouldn't be shocked if that's the case. But with Novosad, I think it's more injury related. And with Luke Moga, I believe it is more passing development related. So Dante Moore, going back to that offensive line, needs to be kept upright. That just simply put has to happen, because I don't know that there is as solid of a number 2 option as I felt there was before the year. So do with that what you will. That's a gloomy note to end today on. That's a gloomy note. By the way, I'll end with this one, I guess. One of you sent me a question about the coaching staff a while back, and if you haven't heard me answer it on the show, it's because I lost the question. I don't know how, but I did. So you probably know who you are. Shoot me a DM on Twitter, and I promise I will not let that happen again. That's not a super optimistic note to end on either. All right, no, we got to end with some more, with some other level of positivity here. What's the one level? I know. He won't be an individual standout tomorrow, but Naeem Offord played more this week, partially because the game got out of hand, but he saw the field a little bit more, looked better. Looked better. But this young secondary just keeps exciting me every single week. That Naeem Offord, who was the highest rated recruit of the bunch in either recruiting class, 2024 or 2025, that he is a rotational guy at best right now. Doesn't mean he won't be a starter going forward, but that he's a rotational guy at best speaks to the way that this secondary is playing, and I think they've condensed those rotations down a lot. I think you have seen a lot of Aaron Flowers, who I'm definitely talking about tomorrow. You've seen a lot of Brandon Finney. You've seen a lot more of Ife Obadegwu, a lot more Jaden Candy. I love the way those guys are playing week after week. This was a legitimate test. Rutgers can throw the football, and they were completely inept. Cal Lake Manus being under 100 passing yards is crazy good work. So that is my optimistic note to end on. Appreciate everyone listening. I'll see you next time. Until then, hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and go Ducks.